Welcome to What the Health? Where anything health is fair game as we tackle the trends and bust the myths about health and wellness. Here are your hosts, Dr. Dan and Angela Toro.
And welcome to another episode of What the Health. I am Dr. Dan here with my co-host,
Angela. Welcome back, everyone. Got another one here. As you guys know, we're here for informational purposes only, in no way offering individualized medical advice. Always consult your trusted healthcare professional before making changes. And this one is, I think, today's topic is one that's a lot of conflicting information out there. So today we are talking about that ain't my plate.
That ain't my plate. Yes.
So if you're not familiar with what MyPlate is, I think most people are familiar with the food pyramid. That's like the classic. I was pictured on the cereal box. It was like the pyramid of the different food groups and kind of visualizing for people the quantities in which you should be eating things, the priorities, essentially.
Yes, which is always very funny because, you know, what was at the bottom? 6 to 11 servings of grains on the bottom, right there plastered on the cereal box, of course. Which is all sugar. So anyway. Yeah,
so we know there were a lot of issues with the food pyramid, which has been revamped. So they've gotten away from the food pyramid and they now have what's called MyPlate.
Yes.
So again, a different way to visualize it. I think they're going in the right direction, you know, showing on an actual plate.
Yes, I think it's definitely an improvement of where the pyramid was.
Absolutely. But there's still, again, there's still just some general recommendations that are out there that we like to touch base on because, again, if you're just kind of blindly following, it's, you know, you could be doing a lot of detriment to your health without realizing it because you're like, well, I'm following these guidelines that are saying that I should be doing this. And grains are a big one. So, you know, they're still showing a big portion of, I think it's a quarter, even a little more than a quarter of your plate as being grains.
Yeah.
And the recommendation is make half of those grains whole grains, where we would argue if you're going to eat any grains, they should be whole grains.
Yeah.
And so just, you know, just in there that and kind of showing that you need to have grains at every meal too, I think becomes sort of a disservice for people. Cause, you know, as we know, you know, you can have a big salad or, you know, a big plate of, you know, meat and veggies and without having any grains on it and get a complete full and satisfying meal.
Well, and I think when you go back to, you know, just in nutrition, they talk about a lot of, you know, macros versus micros, you know, the macronutrients being the carbohydrates, the proteins, and the fats. And those are essentially the three nutrients that our bodies need to function, you know, in a healthy state.
Know how to use for energy and as well as other processes.
Energy, you know, the building blocks of cell functions, hormones, you know, so, you know, the breakdown when you look at carbohydrate, protein, and fat, you can look across the literature and there's different arguments on, you know, body types of what what
how
percentage
you
should eat. But at the end of the day, you can get your carbohydrates without eating grains.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, you know, to your point of, you know, the MyPlate, they're sitting there telling you, well, you should get your carbohydrates from your grains. And it's like, that's just not true. You don't have to.
Yeah. Like you can get them from sweet potatoes or regular potatoes, vegetables in general.
Yeah. Carrots.
Yeah.
You know,
your starchier.
Beans, exactly. All have good, healthy carbohydrate in them, but they're not grains.
Yeah. Beans are an interesting one. That's the one that it falls in kind of across
legumes. Right?
Sort of across the different. That's the other thing too, is like we try so hard. The more we know, the more we try to break things down into their parts, right? Carbohydrates, protein, fats. But as we know, if you just eat a variety of foods, you're going to get those. And there's foods that encompass
a lot of them.
So beans, perfect example. You know, they're a protein.
Yes.
They're a vegetable and they give you that starchy, the carbohydrates. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, so what, does that count as one of each? Does it count? Like, how does this, we're almost overcomplicating what should be fairly simple.
Well, and it's just so, you know, when you, again, the more we, you know, look to the stars and, you know, dive into our bodies, it's like the more we don't know, right? right? It's
exactly. Yeah.
just like, but again, simplifying it down to, hey, we're going to eat this, normal, healthy, this healthy diet, and getting a good balance in there. And again, it's like without going into the crazy measurement of like, I'm going to weigh this down to the 1 gram. Now, again, if you're doing a bodybuilding competition,
athletes,
you have to measure that stuff out. And, that's a very, very elite performance.
They're the exception, not the
exception to the rule. But like, the average human being should not have, if you eat, 5, 10, 20 more grams of a food one day and then less another day, like
your body should not shut down.
You're not going to put it into the spin cycle of,
it's when you're over consuming or under consuming for long periods. That's where it really becomes the issue. And so again, I think, people just drive themselves nuts sometimes. And
Bananas.
I
just had one. It was delicious.
But the grains are still one that, again, they're heading in the right direction, but it still drives me nuts that they, make half of it whole grains. Like really, you just shouldn't be the process that we talk about this all the time. The more processed that something is, the more detrimental it's going to be to your health in the long run. Cause it's taking something away from that, its natural state that your body knows what to do with. And it's turning it into something that's essentially becoming more of a toxin than a food source for you.
Well, and then go down that road for a minute in terms of what is a whole grain.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because you look on the box and you see, whole wheat. And it's like, there only has to be a certain percentage of whole wheat in there for them to label it as a whole, whole wheat or whole, something else. So, that's another, major issue in terms of, again, just in terms of labeling and, for people to truly understand what, this says whole wheat bread.
Oh, right? I know. Well,
it's terrible.
We talk about that all the time. The labels, like the quote unquote healthy labels that get plastered on food to again, drive consumerism. And again, we know there's a big swing, into this health kick, and everybody wants to be healthy, but still wants to enjoy the thing. Like they don't want to give up everything. So again, the snack food industry is just all over that. So they plaster, whole grain or gluten free or, whatever, fat free, sugar free. And it's just like, but it doesn't. And so people see those buzzwords and go, oh, it's healthy, but they're not realizing it's,
it's so artificially processed.
My friend Mike gave me the other day. He's like, "Oh, here, try this. It's a protein Pop-Tart." I'm like, "What the heck is a protein Pop-Tart?" It tasted exactly like a Pop-Tart, and I was like, "So there has to be something in this that, So it's like, of course, look at the ingredients list, and it's got 1,000 things listed on it, and I'm like, I always tell people if it tastes too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
Well, and if you need a biochemistry degree to understand the ingredients on the label, just put it down.
Exactly.
Like, again, I can pick up a potato. And I know
it's a potato. It is a potato. The banana you just ate.
Yes.
Banana.
We won't get in on this episode on like what those bananas could be sprayed with from an organic perspective.
That's a whole nother
topic. But, at least I know that ingredient was a banana.
But that kind of comes back to like the whole grain. We're like, what's a whole grain? I should be able to look at it. Okay, that's an oat. The oats. That's barley. That's If it's a powdery floured substance, you don't really know what it is. It's been broken down, and when it gets broken down, that's so you hear. When you're talking about carbohydrates, the whole carbohydrates or complex carbohydrates versus refined.
Yes.
And that's what we mean by refined. It's being broken down. So you can take a potato, and chop it up and, saute it, or you can take a potato and process it and turn it into something else. And at that point, it's like now it's been processed, it's been refined, the fiber has been removed from it, the nutrients have been removed from it, and you're left with literally just the carbohydrates. So the same thing happens with flour. Flour, it starts as wheat, which does have,
good healthy nutrition.
Nutritional value. Well, in this country, again, I would argue probably not anymore, but in theory, wheat at one point had good nutritional value to it. But when you go and you pulverize it and you remove the fiber and the nutrients, and then what do they do in this country? Then they put all that stuff back in. They fortify it.
Yeah,
so so that's the other thing. Again, that just drives me nuts with those recommendations. They're like, if, because it says right on there, it's like, if you choose, the flours or refined grains or whatever, make sure you're choosing fortified ones. And it's like, well, or just choose the whole food to begin with that has the nutrients in it. Like it's like, okay, so we take real food,
break it down,
strip it down, and then we put the stuff back in, and we say, okay, that's just as good.
There's you follow the science, and they're putting like these artificial vitamins back in, these synthetic vitamins back in.
So are they truly,
which a lot of our bodies cannot process.
Yeah. So on a chemical level, it's okay. Yes, it's technically that, but
yeah, I mean, you go down again another rabbit hole. That's
we are not chemists.
It's not for today's discussion, but you go down the idea of vitamins and methylation, and just search vitamins and methylation on on your search engine, and you will just go down a whole path of the importance. A lot of people have genes that have what's the word I'm looking for? They have markers on them, or they basically don't have the ability to process certain types of vitamins because they don't have the ability to methylate them to utilize it in the body. So consuming a methylated multivitamin is very, very important. And again, tons of research out there. I'm not an expert in that, but it just goes to show you that, the quality of what you're consuming is very, very important. And again, the most beneficial way to get that food source, to get it from the actual source, the food. Vegetables, actual whole foods, meats. They're packed full of all of those vitamins, and that is your multivitamin. That is having, you hear about eating the rainbow, eating an assortment of of fruits and vegetables, and if you eat a variety of foods, you should be really getting that variety of nutrients. But instead, everybody just eats a crap diet and then relies on their multivitamin to be the catch-all for everything. So, and you brought up the wheat, but they do the same thing with these protein powders. It's just like they strip this protein out of if it's a whey protein, they strip it out of the milk. If it's pea protein, they basically boil down the peas and strip the protein out. And again, we could go down a whole argument of which is better, but when I stopped doing protein powder probably over a decade ago. I don't consume it. Every now and again, I will do like a detox or a cleanse that I might do it for 30 days. But I've gotten away from it because I'm trying to get, my calories from good, healthy food. And I always feel way better if, I'm not doing the,
way better.
Way better. Oh, there you go. I didn't even intend to. Wow, there you go. It's too early. The coffee's still kicking in. But anyway, it's amazing. And in fact, I remember when I was in college, our older cousin, Greg, we were weightlifting. He was a senior. I was a freshman, and we were weightlifting. And he talked about there was a big protein brand at that time called like Methoxy something or other. I can't even remember what it was, but he and his friends, but specifically he made the connection just that when he was consuming protein or his friends were consuming protein, they'd again put a lot of muscle on because they're eating a lot of protein, but they'd have this little gut that they couldn't get rid of. And he called it Methoxy gut. And I mean, it literally, like when you look at, these individuals that aren't training appropriately or are overtraining and just, putting this processed stuff in their system, you literally cause liver congestion. And we've talked about this.
We've had a lot of women with the same thing. Yeah. They're like, because again, now protein, used to be marketed towards like, the athlete and the guys. But it's like now again, they're hitting the market for women. And so there's ones being marketed as like, to help with weight loss and gut health and all of that. And it's like, we have these women that are like, I eat so healthy. I can't lose that little pooch. And it's like, just try it. Just cut out your protein powder for a couple weeks and see what happens. And the number one, they're like, oh my gosh, that bloat like immediately went down.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And it just congests your body. And, again, I'm not saying you should never utilize that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's the world we live in. It's like, we talk all the time. That's, it's very, very difficult to be 100% perfect 100% of the time, unless you live on a commune somewhere and can grow all your own stuff. And but yeah, I mean, we live in a convenient world. There's going to be times you're going to indulge in those conveniences. But if that's what you're making the base of your diet, then that's what it becomes a problem. Yeah. And then, in quality, we're talking about, that's another, coming back to the MyPlate, they talk about the low fat craze that like just won't die is so frustrating. Because I think that has just been one of the biggest health
crises.
Yeah, health crises is when that low fat craze kicked in. That's when we saw a skyrocketing of diabetes, the obesity, heart disease. It's not the fat. It wasn't. It's the sugar. It's this huge influx in sugar, artificial sweeteners, and because again, there's two things that make food taste good: fat or sugar. So if you take the fat out, they have to put something in to make people still want to consume it. Yeah. And so that's when we saw a huge influx in sugar. And then it's like, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't be eating all this sugar. Oh, that's okay. We have artificial sweeteners. No calories. Okay, but they still taste sweet. So how? It's like, it has to be doing something.
I just saw that commercial the other day on the Super Bowl with that the new soda that came out.
Oh yeah, there's a new soda.
Yeah, I forget. They call it like it's going to be the next generation of soda.
It's going to be the next diet soda.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm very interested. I didn't look at the ingredients, so again, maybe they figured it out, because a lot of these fizzy waters, they figured out a way to add certain natural flavoring. But again, you go back to like, well, what's the natural flavoring in there? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'll have to look into that because I didn't even see what the ingredients were. But yeah, I mean, they're always trying to, and again, at least they're taking a step of like, okay, they're trying to eliminate the empty sugar calories that are in it, and
not to mention all the other like the toxic, the colors.
The colors,
kind of like just. I was going to say that if they get even getting away from that would be huge. But yeah, so if you look at the dairy, which again, dairy, we have a whole podcast on milk was a bad choice. And so you can go, without beating it to death, you can go back to that. But yeah, if you look at the dairy recommendations there, they still say you should choose low fat options. And we know that, again, so dairy naturally has fat
in it. Yeah.
So when you're taking something that naturally has nutrients in it, you're taking away a major component of it, and then you're putting other stuff in to, again, make sure that it's, can have shelf life and taste good and whatever. And that's what they're recommending. And it's like the low fat dairy. Cause we grew up on skim milk. We were a skim milk family.
We went through 4 to 5 gallons a week. We had it all up and down our, the refrigerator shelf and the extra refrigerator.
Yeah.
I mean, we would each probably go through a gallon a week.
And because it's, again, that was, you're supposed to have milk. You have milk with every meal. Milk with every meal. And that's still the way that it's pictured with MyPlate. They have the little picture of the milk up there in the corner. And it's just like, that's another thing that was kind of driving me nuts, is I didn't see any recommendation about water intake. And that to me is just, that's a disservice. If you're talking about, a well-balanced diet, getting enough water, good quality water, is the basis of that. We can go, you and I know, we both do fasting. It's like, we can go days. A lot of people could probably go weeks without eating. I'm like, you need the water. Like, water is the essence of, sorry, I totally, where I'm going with that.
Oh my God.
I apologize.
Water is the essence of moisture. Oh my God.
Sorry, Zoolander.
Zoolander reference. And Ben Stiller as a mermaid.
Oh my gosh.
Merman Paul. Okay, and we've lost it. Let's bring it back. Okay. This is literally our family dinner conversations. Like, we literally would have conversations
and then just veer off into movie. Yep, that's it. But it is. Water is the essence of life, and it's so important. So the fact that, again, we're talking about, you're kind of showing what a healthy, balanced meal should look like, and there's no mention of water. Yep. That's, I think, again, just doing a huge disservice to people, and the fact that we're still promoting that kids should be having milk with their meals as opposed to water.
Well, and take that a step further, because even in the school systems, the state and federally funded school systems, the public school system, milk is included with your lunch. You can get milk. If you want water, like a bottle of water, you have to pay extra for that. But included in the meal price is, your white milk, your chocolate milk, or your strawberry milk. I mean, I know, right? And
I will never understand strawberry milk. I'm sorry.
There was a very short period of time that I really enjoyed it, and then it was like, no. But I mean, and again, the sugar content in that milk is worse than soda. It's disgusting. And so here we are, federal and state funded tax dollars are used to basically advertise to the next generation that, you should be eating and drinking this stuff, for every meal. And it's like, why can't we get a freaking, bottle of water, or figure out, spend, $100,000 and put a couple good filter water systems, and just have kids bring their own water bottles.
Which I know a lot of places are at least getting better with, that kids can bring a water bottle. Because I mean, we weren't allowed. You couldn't have water bottles. And then again, you're wondering why kids are having attention issues and are tired. They're dehydrated. You stick them in a classroom for 8 hours and don't give them access to water. I'm like, oh my God, if you told me I had to go 8 hours without drinking water. I know that's a big one, is just because, again, it's like just that sugar, that it's so much sugar. It's so much milk. Other crap, and again, who knows what the heck's actually in strawberry milk? I'm afraid
to look. It is not natural.
Exactly. Now, again, is that to say that you can never have a glass of chocolate milk? Like, no. But
for every meal, every day.
Absolutely, that's ridiculous. And again, I would argue it should be a good. If you're going to do chocolate milk, it should be whole milk with real chocolate. Yeah, it's all Brunton's. I'm just thinking of Brunton's chocolate milk now. I don't know if you've ever had that.
I don't know.
It's a local place, and it's like, it literally pours out like melted ice cream. Yeah, like, it's so good.
I might have to try some of that. Do they have a store here?
Storkles used to carry it. I didn't notice last time I was there if they did, but because it came in like the glass, like the real glass bottles. But that's
the best. I mean, you get like a whole unpasteurized milk from the farm.
Oh my gosh,
and then, add some good quality chocolate to it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And now try that, and then try skim milk, and it just becomes so that's I think that's really what comes down to it. It's like, once you experience what real food tastes like and get your body used to that, it's really amazing. You can just tell the difference when you start eating the processed stuff and the altered stuff, because food is good. Like, food is delicious. There's so many natural flavors and textures, but we, again, have just taken everything, and because we have figured, we put everything into a box or a bag, and to preserve the shelf life. And we talk about that all the time. If it's, if it can sit on your shelf for a year, do you really, is that something you really want to be putting in your, would you eat a banana that's been sitting on your shelf for a year?
Bananas don't last.
I hope not. So
Now, again, if you talk about something like a natural preservative process like canning,
exactly.
That's different.
Yeah.
Because yes, you can take those foods and you can preserve them for, a long period of time in a very healthy way. But again, you're taking the actual food, you're putting it in a can, you're sealing it, and putting, the salts or whatever you need to preserve that. And it's designed to last for a very, very long time. But that's not what you're talking about. Like, taking an artificial, something in the artificial ingredients, putting it into a package, into a product and into a package that, could literally sit on the shelf for years. I mean, I know people have done those experiments with, like burgers from different fast food restaurants, and they just literally leave it out, not refrigerated. They just literally leave it out, and like months go by, and there's like no change in it whatsoever. So imagine taking that and putting it in your digestive system and letting your body try and filter that out. Thank you.
Yeah, good. But yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. I mean, again, I'm not saying that I want to be the one in charge of making general recommendations for the entire public, because as we know, that's why I like what we do. We can work with people on an individual basis because that is really what it comes down to. What works for one person might not work for another. But overall, it's just, this is really kind of that, I guess maybe just an overall like cautionary tale to not, to take these recommendations that you see, take them with a grain of salt, and make sure that you're doing your own research and that you're really recognizing, where are some of these recommendations coming from? Are they truly for the overall health of us as a population, or is somebody
sugar, food, drug, milk
dairy industry? It's but yeah, you really just want to make sure it's, again, I have seen it make a big change, like I said, compared to the food, the classic food pyramid that the first attempt of that. It's definitely made a big change. And I do like that, I think overall, if somebody's living on fast food, if they switch from that to the MyPlate, they're going to be making steps in the right direction. Yes, absolutely. So, I don't want to like bash anybody for and I will say they have a lot of resources on there, a lot of information. So it's definitely a good place to start. But, the end all be all is you still got to make sure that you're, as we always say, being an informed consumer, recognizing that quality does matter. And unfortunately, it's like, we have so many choices now, which just makes it so much harder. It's like, even look at the milk aisle. It's like, it's milk. I mean, it's like, why are there 20,000 choices? So it's just, it makes it harder on us as a consumer. It makes it great for the people making money on all of these things, but it definitely makes it harder for us as a consumer. And it just, puts the responsibility back on you. Not all food is created equally. Not all products are, created equally. So really just making sure that you're, doing what's best for you and for your family, and advocating, like you mentioned with the schools. I know, your wife, Erin, has brought that to the school board's attention many times. And, that's what you have to do as a parent sometimes, because it's, it's just the more information you can get out there, and the more you can get them to realize, like, they're not even saying don't have the milk, just say, like, have the water available as an option. Exactly. It's okay to have options, but make sure the healthy options are there. And the fact that the fact that you can get free milk but have to pay for water is a little mind-boggling. So, all right. Well, that's the MyPlate, the ain't my plate. And, again, good maybe starting point, but definitely lots of room for improvement from an individualized, customized basis. So if any of this sounded interesting or resonated with you, and you'd like to learn more, we've got a lot of other podcasts where we touch on different, different eating. And, like you said, we've got touch on supplements, and we go deep into the, deep dive into the, dairy. But if any of this sounded interesting, resonated with you, or if you have questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are more than happy to help guide you and get you into the results you're looking for. So with that being said, I am Dr. Dan with my co-host, Angela. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
You've been listening to What the Health with Dr. Dan and Angela Toro, brought to you by Toro Family Chiropractic. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.whatthehealth.world.